Chapter 5 Arithmetic. Matilda longed for her parents to be good and loving and understanding and honorable and intelligent. The fact that they were none of these things was something she had to put up with. It was not easy to do so, but the new game she had invented of punishing one or both of them each time they were beastly to her made life a little more or less bearable. Being very small and young was the only power Matilda had over anyone in her family was brain power. For sheer cleverness she could run rings around them all. But the fact remained that any 5-year-old girl in any family was always obliged to do as she was told, however asinine the orders might be. Thus she was always forced to eat her meals out of TV dinner trays in front of the dreaded box, and she always had to stay alone on weekday afternoons, and whenever she was told to shut up, she had to shut up. Her safety valve, the thing that prevented her from going round the bend, was the fun of devising and dishing out these splendid punishments. And the lovely thing is that they seemed to work, at any rate for short periods. The father in particular became less cocky and unbearable for several days after receiving a dose of Matilda's magic medicine. The parrot and the chimney affair clearly cooled both parents down a lot, and over the week they were comparatively civil to their small daughter. But alas, this couldn't last. The next flare-up came one evening in the sitting room. Mr. Wormwood had just returned from work, and Matilda and her brother were sitting quietly on the sofa waiting for their mother to bring the TV dinners in on a tray. The television had not yet been switched on. In came Mr. Wormwood in a loud check suit and yellow tie. The appalling brown, orange, and green check jacket and trousers almost blinded the onlooker. He looked like a low-grade bookmarker dressed up for his daughter's wedding, and he was clearly very pleased with himself this evening. He sat down in the armchair and rubbed his hands together, and addressed his son in a loud voice. "Well, my boy," he said, "your father has had a most successful day. He is a lot richer tonight than he was this morning. He has sold no less than 5 cars, each one at a tidy profit. Sawdust in the gearboxes, the electric drill and the speedometer cables, and a splash of paint here and there, and a few other clever little tricks, and the idiots were all falling over themselves to buy." He fished a bit of paper from his pocket and studied it. "Listen, boy," he said, addressing the son, ignoring Matilda. "Seeing as you'll be going into the business with me one day, you've got to know how to add up the profits and you make at the end of each day. Go get yourself a pad and pencil, and let's see how clever you are." The son obediently left the room and returned with writing materials. "Write down these figures," the father said, reading from a bit of paper. "Car number 1, bought by me for £278, and sold for £1,425. Got that?" The 10-year-old boy wrote the 2 separate amounts down slowly and carefully. "Car number 2, the father went on, cost me £118, and sold for £760. Got it?" "Yes, Dad," the son said. "I've got that." "Car number 3 cost £111, and sold for £999.50. "Say that again," the son said. "How much did it sell for?" £999.50, the father said. "That, by the way, is another nifty little trick to diddle the customers. Never ask for a big round figure, always go just below. Never say £1,000, always say £999.50. It sounds much less, but it isn't. Clever, isn't it?" "Very," the son says. "You're brilliant, Dad." Car number 3 cost £86, a real wreck, and it sold for £699.50. "Not too fast," the son said, writing the numbers down. "Right, I've got it. Car number 5 cost £637, and sold for £1,649.50. You got all those figures written down, son?" "Yes, Daddy," the boy said, crouching over his pad, carefully writing. "Very well," the father said. "Now work out the profit I made on each of the 5 cars, then add up the total. You'll be able to tell how much money your rather brilliant father made altogether." "That's a lot of sums," the boy said. Of course it's a lot of sums, the father answered, but when you're a big businessman like I am, you've got hot stuff at arithmetic. I've practically got a computer inside my head. It took me less than 10 minutes to work out the whole thing. You mean you did this in your head, Dad? The son asked, goggling. Well, not exactly, the father said. Nobody could do that, but it didn't take me long. When you finish, tell me what you think my profit was for the day, and I've got the final total written down here, and I'll tell you if you're right. Matilda said quietly, Daddy, you made exactly 4,303 pounds and 50 pence altogether. Don't butt in, the father said. Your brother and I are busy with high finance. But, Dad... Shut up, the father said. Stop guessing and trying to be clever. Look at your answer, Dad, Matilda said gently. If you've done it outright, it ought to be 4,303 pounds and 50 pence. Is that what you've got, Dad? The father glanced down at the paper in his hand. He seemed to stiffen and became very quiet. Say that again. 4,303 pounds and 50 pence, Matilda said. There was another silence, and the father's face was beginning to go dark red. I'm sure that's right, Matilda said. You little cheat, the father suddenly shouted, pointing at her with his finger. You looked at my bit of paper. You read it off from what you've got written here. Daddy, I'm on the other side of the room, Matilda said. How can I possibly see it? Don't give me that rubbish, the father said. Of course you looked. You must have looked. No one in the world could get that right. Answer just like that. Especially a girl. You're a little cheat, madame. That's what you are, a cheat and a liar. At that point the mother came in carrying a large tray on which there were 4 suppers. This time it was fish and chips, which Mrs. Wormwood had picked up in fish and chip shop on their way home from bingo. It seemed that bingo afternoons left her so exhausted both physically and emotionally that she never had enough energy left to cook an evening meal. So if it wasn't TV dinners, it had to be fish and chips. What are you looking so red in the face about, Harry? She said, as she put the tray down on the coffee table. Your daughter's a cheat and a liar, the father said, taking his plate of fish and chips and placing it on his knee. Turn the telly on and let's not have any more talk.